Two of the country's largest IT firms have reported their second quarter numbers. The common theme for both is the growth witnessed in digital services. And that shouldn't surprise anybody. Agam has been shouting out at the top of his lungs that this is something that is the common theme between the two for a while now. But Infosys seems to have a small edge over TCS this time around. Why do you say that, Agam?
Actually, it's not a small edge, it's quite a significant edge because it's clearly been a very strong quarter for Infosys as compared to TCS. And once we start running through the numbers, it'll be, very evident. So let's start by talking about revenues. This is around, over the past couple of quarters, both the companies have now started reporting earnings on a year-on-year basis, and they really haven't gone in ventured as far as your sequential growth is concerned. So we may as well take that one. And as you can see, Infosys has shown around 11.5% growth against TCS at around 8.5% growth. And this also has very important implications as far as the outlook is concerned. But I'll talk about that in just a bit. But for now, we are looking at Infosys well above TCS in terms of revenue growth. What about operating margins? Again, a picture not unlike what we've seen in case of your revenues. Of course, there has been a depreciation, there has been a contraction in operating margins, but for Infosys, it's been a lot less as compared to TCS. And the main reason why we are looking at this contraction is increase of contractor costs as well as several other factors, including currency, which have played against some of these companies. But moving on, we talk about your digital revenues, and this, of course, is the highlight. It's just been a very accelerating path and trajectory for Infosys in terms of digital revenues. Up 38%, and now contributing as well 38% to the consolidated revenues. TCS, of course, is as robust, 28% growth, yes, but contribution towards consolidated revenues is around 32%. But that said, 33%. But that said, we must remember that the TCS base is much larger in general. Let's move on and talk about your other factors. And of course, financial services is something that everyone was keeping an eye on. Why? Because there's a slowdown in Europe. There is a volatility in a lot of aspects as far as the US markets are concerned. There's been a lot of talk about large institutions coming under pressure, which is why there's a slowdown as far as demand goes. And yet, Infosys has hung on to the double-digit growth because this is the largest vertical for both these companies. A third of both companies' revenues come from this particular vertical. As against Infosys, TCS looking at about 8% growth. Now that we've spoken about all these factors, what is the outlook like? So, as far as what Infosys is concerned, it's increased the lower end of the guidance from 8.5 to 9, while maintaining the 10% guidance for the upper end, and that of course comes in as a relief. Why? Because the management of TCS indicated that double-digit growth in this particular year is going to be unlikely because for the first half of the financial year, they've not seen double-digit growth, and the second half of this financial year is seasonally weak. Even in terms of margins, again, we've seen Infosys maintain their margins around 21 to 23%, and TCS always suggesting that it's an aspirational margin of around 26 to 28%, which hasn't come through. But Infosys continue to maintain between 21 to 23%. So as you can see, all the 5 factors that I have discussed right now are playing out in favor of Infosys, and hence that's the reason why it clearly is a quarter where Infosys wins hands down.
Okay, Agam, just one follow-up. You were there at the Infosys press as well. Anything in the body language or anything in the commentary that stood out starkly compared to the previous few quarters?
Yeah, they were surprisingly a lot more confident in general. Given my first question to them was about the slowdown in the US and Europe, and they're like, the numbers are here to say, and the fact that they've seen double-digit growth in the first 2 quarters. They're not so worried about growth in the second half because it's a seasonally weak quarter, but they've more than made up for that in the first 2 quarters.